Hi, and welcome back to Thinking Kingdom Thoughts. I'm Tracy, and my guest is Caleb Brenstein. I always hang up on that because I want to say Stein instead of Sting.
The Bernstein Bears.
Yeah.
Brunstein Bears.
We had some technical difficulties, and so we're doing a part 2 for the simple fact that God has just wanted me to do this in a very raw way right now without all the technical knowledge of doing editing and things like that. And so this is a part 2 because we ran out of battery, and that was my fault, and I apologize for that. I wouldn't have wanted that to ever happen.
Just looks like the enemy was just trying to stop us from having a conversation.
Yeah.
Just as I said, it doesn't want people to move here.
yeah, that was definitely Satan. He was working in there quite a bit. Okay, so we were talking about how did John find work?
Yes, and I just wanted to add one more thing. This is why I wanted to finish this question, because I want this to be helpful for people if they genuinely are trying to find fellowship and trying to move for fellowship. Yeah. So one of the things we're looking for, people, a big one is going to be looking for a new job when you have to move to a new location. So if my husband is a glazer, I probably said that wrong. He works with glass. He does framing and glass for commercial and for residential. And so one of the other things he did besides using a job finder or Craigslist was that he just looked up glass shops, like on MapQuest or something else in the area, and then he was able to see where they were located on the maps and then call them up directly and just ask if they were looking for any work. And so that was a great tool to use. So if you have a specific job you already know that you're good at, like a mechanic or whatever else, you can just look those up online, see where they're located, and then even just call them directly and ask if they're hiring or if they're looking for work.
Yeah. And so did John feel like God was kind of in there with that as well, of him finding work?
Mm-hmm. It wasn't really hard at all. We had places that were willing to take us for work. So
yeah, and there is plenty of jobs out here if anybody wants to work. So, did you use a Realtor or phone apps as tools to find your housing?
Yeah. So for us, we were looking for renting a place. We weren't looking to buy, so we didn't have a Realtor to help us. But we did use apartments.com originally to start. We also used, oddly enough, Facebook Marketplace was an excellent tool to help us find a place to rent.
Yes.
I liked apartments.com because a lot of them have a virtual tour. You can actually go into the apartments and
I like that.
Go to different they stage the camera so you can go to different rooms and look and see the sizing, and you can even measure in a lot of them, how long is this wall, would my couch fit? So that was kind of cool to be able to do that. But we ended up renting a house, and for those, when I had a house to rent, I didn't know exactly what to do, so I called the pastor's wife and I asked her if she would go and do a tour for us and just video with us as she did the tour.
Yeah.
So she did 2 or 3 of the house tours for us. So we were very blessed.
What a nice thing.
Amanda was great. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah,
she did the house tour for us, and we just watched the video as she did it. Yeah. And we were able to ask questions to her directly, and she was able to go and show us whatever we had questions about, backyard, room size. Oh, do you think a king size bed would fit in there? Or she would measure things for us. But I think you could easily do the same type of thing with a Realtor if you needed to.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And Amanda is just absolutely wonderful. Yeah. She's another daughter for me. I'm telling you, the daughters I didn't have.
Yeah. So if you have that option, something like that, that was a good option for us.
Okay, so I think we already got the answer to this, but I said, what confirmation was Yahweh giving you that confirmed to you and John to move? That it was his will that you moved.
So for us, it was peace. That when we compared all the different places, we didn't have peace here. We didn't have peace about going. We thought about going to Tennessee. We thought about going to Colorado. We didn't have peace, but we had peace when we prayed about coming to Oklahoma. And on top of that, there was a couple other things that were interesting for us. Not only did we have peace, our wise counsel had peace when they prayed, and our family, who we thought was going to be really difficult, our friends and family, because they didn't exactly agree with our views on the Bibles, how we did Torah, and we did the feast days and Sabbath and everything. we thought for sure if they knew that we were moving to have convocation with the church body, that they were going to be like, no, we're not going to support you guys moving to Oklahoma. But instead, we were met with peace and calm from our families, and so it just felt like that added confirmation that we were supposed to move. There was never any like slammed doors in our face. There was never any like really hard stumbling blocks. You might face stumbling blocks. It may be a different story for you because that could be the enemy trying to stop you up. But for us, it just felt like it was extra peace that God was giving us to help us feel really secure about that.
Yeah. So what was the most difficult part of moving out from out of state?
I know leaving friends and family was really hard, especially Lev, my son, leaving his aunt. That's like the not tangible aspect of it, but the hardest part of moving was we didn't know the area.
Yeah.
Like, so trying to find a job or a place, because when you live somewhere for so long, you know, like, that's the bad part of town, that's the dangerous part of town. You understand the concept of how long it might take to get from one place to another with, like, traffic or... So we did not know that kind of stuff. We're kind of going into it a little bit blind.
Yeah.
We were able to use, they have some apps, I think, and websites where you can look up like how safe or secure an area is, like how much crime an area has. So we were able to use that for safety to make sure we felt safe in a home that we were getting.
Yeah.
But also just we had, my husband would like talk to guys that were here that he knew from the congregation, which again was a blessing for us. We were able to talk to people in the congregation and be like, is this a safe part of town? Is this a good location for a job? You guys know about this? And so tangibly those were challenges that we had to face.
Yeah, and that's something that's not anything until you start going through it, you don't even realize or think about it, you know. Yeah. And I still get lost.
I know, me too. I am not very direct. I'm directionally challenged.
Yeah, we don't have mountains or anything to go by. It's desert.
Yeah.
You know, with some trees, but
MapQuest.
Very, 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 very flat out here.
I'm used to that though. I'm from Nebraska.
Do you have any regrets or things that you would change?
I said no. I don't have any overall regrets or anything. I think once you realize that you're in God's will, it's really hard to regret much. I just say that it was kind of a bummer moving during all the COVID stuff. That made it challenging to like look for places and to like meet our neighbors. Like I couldn't just like, I really wanted so badly to like bake cookies and like bring them to my neighbors, but I was like, I don't know if they're gonna
how they're gonna
take that. But then it felt so bad just like moving in and not really getting to know my neighbors. It still kind of feels that way. And I don't actually like one of my neighbors, so that's kind of a regret in a way, but it's not really that bad. It's not that bad. So really overall, no, not too bad.
And most of the time what I noticed, if I didn't reach out, it didn't happen, you know.
To your neighbors?
Yeah. And that's why I'm so thankful for the congregation that we have, because we have like 200 people, you know, that...
well, and even when we moved here, remember the church didn't meet for like a week or two? That was like the weeks that we moved.
Right.
So we came here.
Right.
Which was so nice.
We were the church.
You were our church for us. It was wonderful. We felt like we were just welcomed right into the church body. And I mean, I don't think we even realized right away that you guys had just moved here, because you guys were just so welcoming that...
Right.
You know, so, I mean, the COVID stuff was kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's been a challenge for everyone, for sure.
Yeah.
What was it difficult for your toddler to adjust to the move?
I think
Did he go right into his room?
Yeah, I think every kid is a little bit different, and luckily for me, it's not by anything I did or by my husband, but man, we have a good one. We have a good little boy, and he just adjusts really easily.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, up until we moved here, we shared a bedroom with our son, and he was almost like, I think he was around 18 months old when we moved here. He had never slept through the night. And then the second night we were here, he had his own room for the first time, and we were nervous about it. And he slept through the night for the first time. So did he have trouble adjusting? No, I felt like this was just like, he was like, yeah, I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
Like, he slept in his own room. He slept through the night. He made friends super easily.
Yeah,
And
they
we-
all play so well
Yeah.
together, and they're very well behaved.
Oh
so.
yeah, I love that I feels like actually here I almost get more kid interaction with him than
Yeah.
I did when I was
Yeah.
back in Nebraska.
Right, or even in public schools,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna homeschool anyway, so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And we're going to do a show on homeschool
Alright.
as well.
Awesome.
Do you have any additional comments that I may not have asked?
Let me look. Sorry, guys. I got notes so I don't get too lost. So I want to make sure I touch on things because, again, I want this to be helpful for people.
Yeah, like a how to move from out of state to
Honestly, I think
to Torah observancy.
Yeah, I think I wrote this thing in here. I think one of the biggest things you need to do is just make sure that you're in God's will. I think the safest place. I think people are afraid. We're so afraid to move because it's challenging. There's a lot that goes into moving. You know, you gotta pack all your stuff. You gotta go to a new place you don't know, and all of those things. You gotta find a new job. You gotta like let your other job know, and all these different things. And it can be scary. But if you are certain that you're in God's will and this is what He has for you, then there's no safer place to be than in His will.
Right.
So it kind of takes the fear out of all the challenges. You look at it more like challenges instead of things to be afraid of.
Yeah.
So for us, I think that's just my biggest thing is make sure you pray, make sure you're certain that this is what God has for you, and then there's nothing to fear.
Right, right. He's going to get you through everything, isn't He?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming and doing this interview.
Yes.
I really do appreciate that very much.
Yes.
With 2 young children, I know it's not easy to break away, and so I feel a little spoiled by you doing that today. So anyway, I guess we're done with this for now. We will be coming back. Oh, would you be willing to come back for another show?
Yeah, I think we already talked about me coming back again.
We have, and it will be about linen.
Yes.
She's like the linen queen in our group, and we've gotten a lot of advice, and that's another show that we will be doing.
Yep, I look forward to it.
So anyway, just enjoy God's journey, and we'll all be doing good.